Hey everybody, it's Mark from Team Primetime coming at you with a slightly late but still regularly scheduled video. This is definitely my spot in the rotation. And before I get started, I want to thank all of y'all because we've eclipsed 100 subscribers, and so we're gonna do a giveaway for that. We haven't worked out all the details, but we're gonna do it based on our subscribers and those interactions. So tell your friends. If you have people who might enjoy our content, just tell them to subscribe. Tell them to follow us on social media. Be on Twitter and Instagram. And I don't know everything that's going to be in the giveaway yet. Our team hasn't sorted it out, but I know one of the items is a foil full art Orcish Bowmasters, and going into modern season, that's going to be real sweet to have. So once again, I want to thank y'all, and I'm gonna jump into the video. Today, I wanted to do the traditional back to school assignment. So it's early August, and here in the South, most people have either done their first week of school or they're going back this week. So I wanted to do this is what I learned this summer style assignment. So I'm gonna go over RCQ season 4, what I did, what I played, how I performed, and what I think I need to do better. Spoilers, I didn't qualify for Atlanta, so I'm gonna go play the LCQs. So I'll go over decks I think I'm gonna practice heading towards December. So I'm gonna go over all that. So I hope y'all enjoy this kind of content. It's gonna be a little different. It's not gameplay, but I think this part of competitive Magic is just as important as the gameplay. So thanks for being here, and I'll see you as I'm moving into the slideshow. So RCQ Season 4 was Pioneer, ran April 22nd through August 20th. I played my first RCQ of the season on April 22nd. Gamers Paradise in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, great shop. I want to shout them out. In the area, as far as I know, they're the first shop that ever gets on the calendar as soon as the dates open up for registration. And they always do the first and second weekends. So I played 2 Pioneer RCQs back to back there, and that was part of the 7 I played in total for the season. So yeah, I played 7, but I didn't play any in late July or early August. I had a lot of family things going on. When you're 30, lots of things going on at home. I have a son that's about to be 1 year old. There's just a lot of family things going on, and so you can't play as many as you want to. But I think playing 7 in a season, ideally you want to play 1, but getting the opportunity to go out and play Magic is always fun. Getting to play competitive Magic even better, and I get to play in a great area of the world. I think some of the talent I play with here in the Gulf Coast area is definitely some of the best people I've ever played with, and I've learned a lot in the process. I played 40 rounds across those 7 events. One of those events was an 0-3 drop, so obviously didn't contribute very well. But I played a 7-rounder. I think GP's first RCQ of the season. We had enough people for 7 rounds, which is insane. And I 5-2'd that one. It was very close. I think I finished 12th or 13th out of 65 people. Which I felt pretty good about. But unfortunately, I don't think any of the 15 pointers made the top 8. My overall record in those 40 rounds was 21, 17, and 2, which is a 52.5% win rate. So I'm winning more than I'm losing, but that's obviously not good enough to get there in a lot of cases. Before my weekend of 0-3 drop, and before that weekend with Demir Control, I was actually at a 60% win rate. I think it was 12, 5, and 2. But I just had a terrible weekend, and tanked the record a little bit. But in 7 events, I played Demir Control 5 times. It is my comfort deck, so I've played a lot of. But I did learn a lot about the deck, and I'll go over that in a later slide. But I would say my best performance of the season is when I lost the semifinals of a 2-slotter on Demir Control. Both of the finalists were on Rakdos, so it wouldn't have mattered which one I played. The Rakdos mid matchup for Demir Control was pretty bad. So unfortunately, that's how the cookie crumbled there. And I lost the winning in at 2 different events, one on Demir Control. where I lost a really tight game against Abza and Greasefang. I definitely punted in a few places, and you know, at the end of the day, you need to be playing your best Magic, and I was not there. So that's just how it goes. And I lost a win and in on blue-white control for the one event. I pivoted to that. This was after everyone started moving over to playing Convoke. And I think there was a lot of Convoke in the room that day. I just played none of them in that event, and my win and in was against Ben Hines on four-color Greasefang, and his list is sweet. He is I call him the Greasefang expert in the Gulf Coast area. He has probably played every permutation of that deck. He has just a binder full of random cards that he can play in that deck. And the version he played that day, I was not prepared for, and he got me. And he went on to he made the semifinals of that two slaughter. Didn't make it there, but then later qualified at a later event. So he'll be playing in Atlanta. So congratulations to him on that one. But so I want to talk about Dimir Control, right? This is the list I played a lot of. I played a version that was very much my own at the event that I lost in the semifinals of, and it was very old school. It was more of my boomer control type deck. I was playing Sensors. I had a main deck search for Escanta. I was expecting a lot of Rakdos in the room, so that's definitely why I was playing the main deck search. And the deck played great. I felt like I was pretty good all day. And one of the things that constantly worked for me is that Thoughtseize in a control deck feels good. I'm just getting to have the main deck opportunity to, if I need to resolve something, I can Thoughtseize and then play it. And in a control deck, that feels good when you need to jam Narset Parter Avails to accomplish what you need to do for the late game. So that worked a lot for me. In this area of the world, there's a lot of control players. I feel like being on Dimir control gives me an advantage. Probably, I think control matchups for the mirror suck in general for most people to play, but I feel like being on black instead of white, I feel 60 to 65% in most of those matchups, and even if it doesn't play that way, I always feel like I am. But some of the things where that don't feel good, just like playing the deck in general, or the counter spells are bad. Censor is a terrible card. I would probably never register Censor again. Even while playing a deck that has Dig Through Time in it. It just, a Force Spike does not get there against a lot of decks that, just really ramp. Like, it's probably your worst card against Mono Green. Make Disappear is just a much better card. The card I wish we had more than anything, I just want Miscalculation in Pioneer. I think we wouldn't have to play Make Disappear, especially in a deck that, if you want to get the casualty off on Make Disappear, you have to cycle Make a Shark usually, and then cast Make Disappear. So, or you sacrifice one of your man lands, and that stinks. Like, one thing that Dimir doesn't have that like Blue White has is Castle Ardenvale, and just not having a steady supply of creatures makes Make Disappear a worse card. So having Miscalculation in the deck, I think, would feel really good, and that's my personal wish. This was the list that I started playing at the end in my last couple events. One of them was the 03. I hooked up with Hey Pharaoh on Twitter. You should follow them. They put up a lot of good lists. So this was more of what they were playing, and I liked it. I liked a lot of what the list was doing. I even liked the sideboard Pithing Needle that ended up playing into a lot of really interesting games, which I definitely was not playing. Siphon Insight's actually one of my favorite cards. Get you a lot of value in Rakdos, get you a lot of value in the control mirrors. And I actually didn't think I would like Chrome Host Seed Shark as much as I do. This card, I feel like anytime I've had to play against Lotus Field, I just jam this and then create... this creates a closing speed that you didn't normally have against them. It's already a highly positive matchup for Dimir, but I think Chrome Host Seed Shark just kind of seals the deal. Multiple Shieldreds, I think, were great. There's a lot of matchups where Shieldred the Apocalypse just closes the game, and I think that's awesome. But otherwise, like, your closing speed sucks. This deck lacks win conditions. I mean, you could take the Gabna Sea route where you don't need a deck that has win conditions. You just jam a Shark Typhoon and then make all your sharks you need. But a lot of times it doesn't get there or it's too slow. I'm like the biggest torrential gear Hulk fan in the world, but getting up to 6 mana and then casting it sucks. Um, that's the only reason I think that creative gear Hulks, like that deck is very good, because you're cheating gear Hulks into play. Um, that's the thing about Pioneer, and that's the thing that was hardest for me to learn this season. Um, is that in Pioneer you have to be doing something unfair. Like if you think you can play your fair deck or your fair mid range or your fair control, you're gonna get ran over most of the time, or your opponent is gonna generate some kind of advantage that you can't come back from. Pioneer is a format where the level of threat far surpasses the level of answers. And being on the control side of that, it's a hard place to be. Where I have to say, yeah, my control deck is bad. But yes, that's kind of the big thing I've had to learn is that you need to be doing something unfair, and Dimir Control was not doing anything unfair, and that's why gonna have to axe this deck going forward. I think it's just not something I can really play and feel good about at RCQs. Azorius Control. So I pivoted to play this for one event, and I lost my one, as I mentioned earlier. And the deck felt cool. I finally got to register a deck that was in a top 4 metagame percentage. So I felt like I was walking in with a deck that is good. I'm going to cover the things I didn't like about the deck. It also just doesn't do anything unfair. And it gives away information if you reveal Kahira. Like when you don't play any main deck creatures, you could just not play Kahira and have another sideboard card. But I think I've learned in a lot of ways that if you can play a companion, that's just your extra card. If you have those games, because Magic is a game of high variance, if you're not drawing the card you need to win, putting a card in your hand is an okay thing to do. So, it's a cool thing that the deck has access to, but giving away that information that you're on control because you're the only deck that plays Kahira sucks. Like there are multiple decks that play Giganta, it gives nothing away. That card's free. Kahira is not in terms of companion selection. But what does work is that Supreme Verdict is insane. Having it is the best sweeper in the game. I think it's the best sweeper period in any format. Maybe Toxic Deluge, I guess that might be the one argument. But Supreme Verdict, not being able to be countered. The only thing that really stops it is Spell Queller. But you just have to be good enough to play around it in that case. This was all I played this when Convoke was getting big, so temporary lockdown felt really good. I think I had three. Main deck temporary lockdowns. I did, and I had one in the sideboard. So I was very much prepared for that, and I was doing the Kahira thing with all the Regal Caracols in the sideboard. So we were ready to rock on that aspect, and I think the deck played really well. I felt good about it, but overall, I don't know, it just didn't get the job done. It didn't feel like I was doing anything unfair. I was losing to Mono Green. I lost to Grease Fang. Decks that are doing things that put you under such pressure that missing one card just absolutely derails the game for you. So ultimately, I don't feel like it's anything I can play either. And also going into thinking I have to play LCQs, I'm going to play very long games with this, and that's going to be mentally taxing. I would hope the first shot I fire off into LCQs is what I qualify on, but I'm not going to hold my breath. I have to mentally hedge for that. So definitely, this is something that I don't think is worth kind of going for. Now the event I played Rakdos mid at, I actually felt very I've owned the cards for this deck for a long time, and I just never registered it. And I told people that it's I had these cards. I know it's a good deck. I talked a lot of crap about this deck. But really, I didn't want to play it. I felt like it also just doesn't do anything unfair. But it manages to win games just by disrupting your opponent and also having a clock. So that was good enough for me. And Shieldred the Apocalypse by itself can win games. So my list played 3 of them in the main deck, and that worked out really well. I was expecting a lot of mono green at that point, so having the main deck Misery Shadow was very good. My sideboard is actually what I like the most about this list. Weathered Runestone was insane. Definitely, it was good against Greasefang, but it's also good against Mono Green. Having Damping Sphere in the deck was good. Like I just tooled this in a lot of ways to beat Mono Green, and I went 2-1 against Mono Green in that event, and the Mono Green opponent I lost to had the most insane Mono Green list I had ever seen. We're talking main deck Questing Beast, Vivian Arcbow Ranger, Renin Realmbreaker. So just assembling like so many things that, in a deck that won for ones, there was just too much advantage on the board. And um, in a world where I didn't have Blood Tithe Harvesters on board, you can't really block a Questing Beast. So that all really stunk. But, that was a loss there. But, the other downside of the deck is, sometimes you draw the wrong half. So I had to keep a hand against Lotus Field, and I lost this match where I had Disruption, and I had a little bit of a clock, but I didn't have a lot of one. And I drew the wrong half of the deck after the keep. So I just ended up being in a bad spot. Sometimes you have your clock and no disruption, or you have your disruption and no clock, and it doesn't work out. And when your opponent is going to cast Pour Over the Pages and draw a bunch of cards and do their thing, if you don't put the disruption together, then you're just in a position to lose. Which is kind of something Rakdos mid felt powerful. A lot of people have qualified on this deck. It is something I would probably still consider playing going forward. But I think it needs some tweaks. I think if you're going to see a lot more mono green, you have to play like the Duresses probably have to move to the main deck. The hand disruption I think is more important there. I could probably see a second Misery Shadow in the main deck because the exile effect is very, very important. But I don't know if there's any other tweaks I'd make to that at this point in time. But I want to talk about going into the LCQs, like what decks do I have to consider? So I have the rest of August, September, October, November, to really lock down what I'm going to bring. And these are the kind of the 4 decks that instantly come to mind for things that I thought really worked and add something unfair. So Dimir Narset. So people have worked on a lot of Dimir decks that are doing like the Archfiend of the Dross combo, and I think that's just really gimmicky, and I don't want to do it. I have played Narset Days, and I think I tried to play it in too much of a control shell, and I think you can really get by doing it in more of a mid-range shell. So I want to do some experimentation with that. I still have all the hand disruption, and then once you set the game up with Days Undoing, if you've locked your opponent out of having one card and you have a full grip, you should find a way to win. And if you can't find a way to win, then your deck is built wrong. So that is a deck that just instantly comes to mind as the kind of thing that fits my play style, and I could probably move forward playing with that. As a control player, though, the Lotus control deck that it's been really has come about, I think is awesome. I think that takes blue-white control and adds something unfair to it. So when you have Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, untapping 2 Lotus Fields at the end of every turn, then you have an opponent who is doing something powerful on their turn and then can still do something powerful on your turn, and using Discontinuity as a counterspell that has like added value is super cool. That is a deck that I think I could definitely practice and be good at. That's going to play some long rounds, but I like to think of myself as a fast control player. So I could probably get the hang of that, and that could be something I would play. Rakdos Sack, if you've looked at like recent results, is really the only deck that keeps up with Mono Green, which is weird because Mono Green should like hard shut off Rakdos Sacrifice because of Karn the Great Creator. But the Rakdos Sack decks, I guess have enough disruption that you can keep Karn off the board and you can just do your thing. So I mean, Blood Crypts are cool, and I think Rakdos Sack would probably be the way I would want to utilize them if I'm choosing something going forward. Or, caveat, the Rakdos Goblins list that Moss, our teammate, qualified with is sweet. I will definitely put in reps with that. I play the heck out of Rakdos Goblins in Modern. So I think it would be almost disrespectful to myself and my history to not at least try that deck going forward. And the last deck that's just like, I keep seeing it and people keep talking about it, is like the Green White Taxes deck, that has like Voice of Resurgence, Archon of Emeria, but also has a Seekus Chariot and Archangel Elspeth. And I think there's usually only Yasharns in the sideboard, but Yasharn Implacable Earth is one of my favorite cards. I love me the good pig, and I would definitely want to try that deck. I think it would be good against Sacrifice and mid range. I would just have to see how well it plays into mono green, and that would probably be the only thing stopping me from considering it. Any deck with Voice of Resurgence feels like it's going to be good against control, so I don't really have to think about that too much. But here's the thing, though: Pioneer season's over, but there's going to be 2 more standard legal sets releasing between now and the regional championship the second week of December. So we're going to have Wilds of Eldraine and Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Some of the spoilers from Wilds of Eldraine. There's a 4-mana sacrifice a thing to, I think the thing is specifically artifact, creature, or enchantment, to tutor a card, and if its CMC is 4 or less, you cast it for free. That seems like it could be insane in Rakdos Sacrifice, but I'm pretty sure it's double or triple black, so it means you couldn't play Gigantha in that shell, and I don't think that's worth getting rid of. I do think that it's worth trying, though, because it's just extra copies of, if you need to find your Mayhem Devils, you can find it. I don't know, it seems like a 1 or 2, but it's probably not worth losing to Gigantha. I'm sure someone's going to test it, and I'll find the data on that, but I would probably at least try it once myself. And who knows what we're going to get with Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I hope to see some of the mechanics I really enjoyed. I loved Explore. I don't know. All the themes are fun. I am just interested to see how things like change. Like, I would think adventures would be more prevalent in Pioneer, where, mid-range decks, can get all the value from the adventures. But like I've stated, in Pioneer, if you're not doing anything unfair, your deck's kind of bad. So even all the cool adventures cards we're going to get from Wilds of Eldraine, I feel like they're not going to make an impact, because really the only one that sees play in Pioneer is Bone Crusher Giant. You occasionally see a Brazen Borrower, but beyond those two, I guess that's not true. You see Lovestruck Beast, but no one's ever playing like a Murderous Rider. And they're not, and none of those cards are really played in mid-range decks besides Bone Crusher Giant. Brazen Borrower, you're using it to bounce combo pieces, and Lovestruck Beast is just there in the boat stack. So I don't know. I don't know if the adventures will make any mid-range deck better, but I would be interested to see those impacts. But no, like that's my thoughts on Pioneer. I think at this point you got to be doing something unfair. Greasefang also just does things that are unfair. So I think that's probably worth putting on this list, especially for someone who hasn't qualified. Like, Greasefang plays fast games usually, so it's probably worth looking at. And I've played it a little bit, so I could probably play with that. But no, like Dimir Narset, Lotus Control, Rakdos Sack, those are like my top 3. Like, if I just had to yank cards out of my collection and put those 3 together, those are the 3 I'd put together right now. And if you disagree with me, unless mono green is your choice, I get it. You can bring that. These are 3 that I think can definitely play against and beat mono green. So if you have any kind of, I don't know, additional advice even, like, throw those in the comments. I'm a listener. I'll take advice from anybody. But no, it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to going, because it's the first time our team is going to be completely together. I'm down here in Louisiana, Bo's in Pittsburgh, Dougie, has been away for a long time. So we're all going to be together, and I'm really looking forward to that, because, just beyond playing together as a team, the camaraderie of a team is, really important. So that's my heartfelt moment to my team. If y'all, watch to the end of this video, just know I love you guys, and I'm looking forward to hanging out with y'all, and kicking ass in Atlanta. So, with wrapping that up, these are my complete thoughts on, the RCQ Season 4 that we just played. And I'm looking forward to seeing y'all in Atlanta. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all in my LCQs. And, unfortunately, I'm looking forward to seeing y'all playing other LCQs while I'm getting ready to play the RCQ, the RC the next day. So, Love you guys. Like, comment, subscribe if you haven't done that, and follow us on social media. And I will look forward to seeing you on the next one. Y'all take care.